All right, here with Marcus Hohen, head coach, Thoroughbred Wrestling Academy, after a very successful inaugural dip into the pool of P&L, the spring championship for your program. First of all, just tell me from a overall club experience what you thought about the event.
I thought it was really great. Obviously, it might sound like I feel like a lot of people will say the same things. But it was really great. For us, some of the big things that stand out in my mind are high-level competition. So upping our standards and just having a bar that continues to go up. And by putting ourselves around clubs that are better than us right now and further along in the journey than us right now, continues to push us forward towards them. But also something that I didn't really understand when I first initially started looking into P&L that was really great for us was that understanding that Pinnacle, Askren, Young Guns, all these killer teams, and I could go on, I hope I'm not leaving that, but yeah, the elite kids that they're putting out, we all know them, we see those kids, right? But we sometimes forget that they also have kids that just signed up 6 months ago. They also have kids that are just starting to get really, really involved in wrestling and really start to buy into things and want to take things to the next level. And they're not those world beaters yet. They're not those top ranked guys yet. And we have a lot of those kids too. And it was really good for us to get matchups that are high level, but maybe not out of our league, right? So there's certainly kids there that are out of some of our kids' leagues right now, but it's good that they can see those kids and see where that is and start to understand, what those kids are doing and see the differences in how those kids carry themselves, how they warm up, how they prepare for their matches, how much they attack, how much, what their volume is, what the techniques they're winning matches with, how they handle coming from behind, how they handle finishing a match. All these things we can start to have them see, the kids that are doing the things that they want to be doing, and kind of model after them. But also we had good matches for every level of kid that we brought. We brought some kids that have won multiple state titles. We brought kids that have never placed at state. We brought national champions, and all of them had appropriate matches that pushed them. All of them had 1-point matches, 2-point matches, that they were really, the parity was really great for those kids in those matches. They also took some lumps. They got beat by some really good kids.
Sure.
So yeah, it was great for us. Those are the big things I would say that stand out, initially, other than the other thing that we kind of talked about before was, because of the process with the interviewing and the kind of selectiveness of the teams bringing in a smaller field, it feels like everybody was more involved in the process. Leading up to the tournament, Zach is communicating with me about some of our kids and their brackets and what it might look like to maybe combine and move things around. And I feel like I'm involved in that process a little more, and I feel like that gives us a whole lot more ownership over it, right? I mean, I think even at the end of the tournament, I was like, I feel like we should help roll up mats or something, because it feels like it's, we're part of it. And especially us being, this is our first event with P&L, I think that says something a lot about that, even our first event, I felt like part of it. So that's really cool, I think.
I think the other thing that, as an observer, right, as the USA Wrestling guy, as a play-by-play guy, that I thought was a lot of value was the networking opportunities for the coaches with each other. When I interviewed Eric Larkin, he literally said that he asked a coach to teach one of his guys a move that either they had done against him or thought he could do it better. Mm-hmm. And then also you mentioned clubs are different stages of growth, marketing, retention, all these things. I'm sure that has to be valuable for somebody like yourself who's a student of the game.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, obviously, not to short any of those guys, but the Pinnacles, the teams that are really, really excelling and have large volume, and they're in states that wrestling is a big deal. Those guys are great resources for sure. But even thinking outside, Jake down at Ironclad down in Alabama, we were talking about him. Yeah. And that's somebody that I look up to a lot, because for him to be doing that, to do that in Minnesota, to do that in Wisconsin is one thing, right? And that's hard enough in and of itself. But to do that in a state that is not traditionally a wrestling state, and to be able to generate the interest and the involvement and the numbers and the quality that he has in a state that's not a traditional wrestling state is really impressive to me. And that's somebody that I really look forward to hopefully developing a relationship with and having good lines of communication with him, and try to pick his brain on some of the things he's doing, because obviously he's doing a great job and the things he's doing are working. So I'd like to pick his brain, like I said, and figure out some of those things for sure. So yeah, I mean, the networking is huge. I even was thinking we had a little where we weren't sure with some of the 12U and 14U if they were going to do Greco or not. I think we had mentioned at some point in the day, they're like, I don't even know if they're going to do Greco with that age group. And I suggested, like, hey, if we don't end up wrestling Greco, then like we should take all these kids that were wanting to wrestle Greco, put them over on 2 mats over there, and have one of these coaches go do like a parterre clinic with them. And they ended up wrestling Greco, but I feel like just in my 1 weekend of experience, that if that would have transpired that we didn't wrestle Greco with those kids, I feel like everyone would have been on board with that. Like we're on the same page in that, like, okay, well, they're all here. Let's go move them to a mat and somebody go work with them on their parterre, right? Because for us, especially, and I can only speak, for me, because I watched all of my kids' matches for the most part, we need to get a lot better at parterre, and that's just where we are. Like it's not. Yeah. My kids are doing fine, right? But we have a lot less experience in the international styles than some of these other clubs that have been doing this a lot longer with bigger numbers. More people bought into doing that. Dave, you're from St. Louis, so you know some of the struggles that we have getting kids to buy in and commit to doing those international styles. It's been a conversation in our area for many years about how much better numbers Kansas City gets for our state than St. Louis traditionally. Not every single time, but most part, they're putting better numbers in our international styles for Fargo. When we get on that bus, sometimes it's a little like, oh, wow, they're bringing like twice as many kids as us.
It's 2 to 1 a lot of times, yeah.
And so just trying to increase that involvement, and I think that this helps our area. Obviously it helps my club, but I think it helps our area in general by pushing that bar forward. So even if people are not at our academy, they're seeing the things our kids are doing, the opportunities they have, and they want to go find those opportunities for themselves too, to try to like keep pushing that forward. So I think it only helps even our area, right? For us to be involved, to continue to push that bar for the expectations of what a high achieving wrestler would do, and the processes that they need to go through, and the competitions they need to be looking to be involved in, and transitioning to those styles. I think earlier, that's a big thing that we want to try to be pushing, is that trying to shorten that folk style season after state. I really like that USA Wrestling moved the folk styles up a little bit sooner, so we could move into our freestyle and Greco. I think there's a lot of excitement around those styles when kids have spent 4 months, in their high school rooms 5 days a week at folk style. To change it up, I think a lot of them like that, and the sooner we can get there, I think it benefits all of us better, benefits our state better. We can perform better at Fargo. I think, it just increases the quality of everybody, and I think that they've done a really good job of spreading that out across the country, because you see representation, at PNL from literally coast to coast, right? So that's huge, and I think those points are how you spread this out and how you spread that influence out, and not instead of getting these pockets where everybody's doing one thing here, but no one else outside there is on board with that. So.
Well, congratulations on your entrance into P&L and a great weekend. And I got a chance to visit with a lot of your kids and their parents, and they had a great experience. So well done.
I appreciate it, Dave, and thanks for the time and giving me some shine. Appreciate all your shout outs on the live stream, which you killed it. So appreciate everything you're doing for the sport with Border Brawl and everything else. So thanks again.